A table of contents is a fantastic way to provide navigation to your users within a document. Let's make one in Adobe InDesign. This tutorial is just going to be about the basics of a table of contents feature. This is not going to be about building a super complex table of contents. I'm going to make another tutorial about that. You can see my document for it is open there. So this one will just focus on the fundamentals to get you familiar with the function. Before we get started, if you want to see more tutorials, please subscribe, and if you have any ideas for future tutorials, feel free to leave a comment down below. Let's get started. I have my document here. This is very basic. I just have chapters and body text. Now, a table of contents relies on paragraph styles, so I have those set up over here, and I have them in this folder called Book, but that's just for organization. It's not super important. So I have H1 for my chapter titles and then body text. I'm only going to be including the H1 in my table of contents, so that's the most important style. To make a table of contents, just go Layout, and then find Table of Contents. This is what it's going to look like for you. We have two kinds of styles in a table of contents. The first is going to tell us what text to include in the table of contents itself. So I've got my H1 here. Every new paragraph that is labeled H1 will be added into my table of contents. And then down here, style, this is going to be how it appears in the table of contents. So I will add in my H1, and then all of a sudden I can add a style. And it says in brackets book. That's just because, like I showed before, it's in a folder titled book. So we can style this entry however we like. I'm going to do a new paragraph style. You can ignore this paragraph style here. I'm not sure if this is an InDesign bug or a feature I've discovered, but this has been following around in my various versions of InDesign since 2022, so I'm not too sure how that got in there or what to do with that. I'm going to go new paragraph style. We can base it on a paragraph style in our document if we want to. I usually base everything on one style that will control the font, but that is up to you. I'm going to call this Talk H1, and I can style this however I want to. Then I'll click OK once I'm happy with that. We can click more options here, and this will give us options on the page number and how we style that. So for the page number, we can have it after entry, before entry, or no page number. I'm going to keep it on after entry. And then these styles here are character styles. So if we don't choose anything here, it will use the paragraph style that we've set for the entry. But the character style will override that if we want to style it in a particular way. This specifies what character is between the entry and the page number. So this right here is just a tab. I'm going to replace this with a right indent tab, which is going to force all of the numbers onto the right-hand side of my frame. Up here we have the title. I'm going to change this to Table of Contents. And for the style, I want this to be the same as the chapter headings in my book, so I'll put it as H1. I won't make a new paragraph style for it. We have options down here to create PDF bookmarks. This is going to create essentially another table of contents that users can use within the PDF, whether they're on any page they want to. So if you've ever had sidebar navigation inside of a PDF, that's PDF bookmarks. It's sometimes called an outline in other software as well. If I'm happy with all of this, I'm going to save my table of contents style, which we can find here. So I'm going to call this table of contents. And this is great for if you ever, delete your table of contents, or if you have multiple of these within one document. This just means it's going to save how it looks, so what paragraph styles are included in it, as well as how those are styled. So if I have multiple and I delete one and I need to get it back, I can load the table of contents style and it will do all of that for me without me having to go through it all again. This is not as important for simple documents like this, but when it gets more complex, it's very helpful. So I'll go OK, and then I'll click OK here. Now my table of contents is loaded on my cursor. If I click at the very edge of my margins, it will just fill my margins. If I click and drag, it works just like a text box. And that's how we've got a table of contents here. We can make changes to this if we want to. So for example, if I wanted chapter 2 to be on the next page, we can do that. So I'll go to chapter 2, I'll insert a page break, And then I can go to my table of contents, select it, go Layout, and Update Table of Contents. And now that's shifted all of the pages from page 2 to where they should be. I can also make changes to how far away I want the numbers from my chapter titles. So we can go Layout, Table of Contents Styles. We can edit our table of contents. And rather than having a right indent tab, maybe we just want it to be a tab. So I will go OK, select it, Layout, Update Table of Contents, and now all of those are separated by a tab character, but they're a bit close, so let's change that a bit. You always want to deselect your frame before you edit your paragraph styles, otherwise the whole frame will change to that paragraph style. So we go to tabs, and I'll just drag that out a bit, so we can see that there's now some distance between those. And then we can add a leader. So if you've ever seen a table of contents and there's dots between the chapter title and the page number, this is done with a leader. We can just type a full stop in there, and then we've got a leader. Leaders can sometimes be a bit inaccessible for something like a screen reader. In the next tutorial, I'll show an alternative method for making a leader that's not going to say like dot, 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 or period, period, period on a screen reader. But that is the absolute basics of how we make a table of contents in Adobe InDesign. If you like this tutorial, make sure to like and subscribe, and I hope to see you again soon.